All right, I'm here with James Thomas Murphy, and he's the cicada man.
This will kind of give you an idea of sort of what we're looking at, you know, a rather large insect.
I can't look in the headlines without seeing cicada this, cicada that.
They're causing a bit of a disturbance just because of the sheer numbers of these things as they're coming out.
Between the meat shortage, people wanting to stop eating meat in general.
Yeah.
And now you got these giant cicadas, which people are calling tree shrimp, which just sounds disgusting to me. What are your thoughts on people eating cicadas?
You know, I'm for it, and maybe that makes me a weirdo, but I'll wear that on my sleeve. Tree shrimp, to me, I feel like that should be more of an appealing term, right? You know, shrimp is something I think, especially here in the South, we eat without a second thought. You know, you've seen Forrest Gump. Bubba give you a million ways to eat those shrimp. The key is, I think you want to get them basically right after they come up out of the ground and they shed that last bit of their exoskeleton to become adults before they soften up. It's almost like soft shell crab, I think.
You can have my cicadas, James. You can have all my cicadas.
All right.
What happens if a cicada wakes up early?
Well, I mean, they're probably going to do what they do best, which they're going to dig up out of the ground, climb up a tree and start screaming. It's actually not out of the ordinary. We do have some things they're referred to as stragglers, and there's, I think, some debate as to what really causes it, but there are cases where even this brood we're having come out this year, there were some that came out early last year.
What makes them sleep so long? Like, do they eat like a melatonin gummy and just pop it and go to bed?
Yeah, man, everybody's on those sleep gummies these days. Nah. So really, it's sort of a combination of a lot of different factors. Some of it is, I imagine, to do with just their diet. So they're feeding on tree roots, basically. They really take a long time, and it's not exactly a super nutrient-rich diet, but part of it too is sort of just the history and biology of these things. So by synchronizing up together, it's sort of a strength in numbers type thing. So by having this long delayed thing, it's speculated or theorized that it makes it harder for predators to take advantage of that, or for predator populations to sync up as easily with that long lifespan, that long development. But there's a lot that goes into it, and you know, unfortunately, we can't really just ask them.
You think they know they're going to hibernate, that they're going to be asleep for that long, or do you think they like go to bed one night and then wake up, holy crap, it's 17 years later, what happened?
Yeah. So I mean, it's got to be a wild existence, right? Because I mean, these females basically they lay these eggs. You know, this whole 4 to 6 week process of emerging, calling, mating, and then laying eggs, and then they're going to emerge again another 4 to 6 weeks later, and then before you know it, they are tucked underground. So whether they have any awareness, whether they have any sense, or if it's just something they just gotta do, they do it well. They've done it well for, you know, hundreds of thousands, millions of years.
Are these cicadas that we're hearing in the background right now?
Yeah, we are actually. We do actually have one piping up, maybe because it's warming up for us.
They heard us talking about them.
Yeah.
Explain how this brood thing works. 17 years underground.
Yeah.
Does every wave of cicadas ever sleep for 17 years? Like is there a class of 2022 cicadas that's been underground since 2005?
Yeah, so it does work kind of like that. We do expect, you know, about every year somewhere around the eastern United States, we'll see some of these coming out, some of these species, but they all come out in these huge numbers, and that's why we call them a brood.
I have really heard cicadas my entire life in the summers growing up in Georgia, and I was expecting to hear these really loud Brood X cicadas because I'd been reading about them, and I haven't heard any of them. What do you think could be going on in parts of the state or parts of the eastern United States where people were expecting to hear these things but haven't?
Yeah, I mean, some of it's just pure location, man. I mean, if you go up north in the state, I got friends and coworkers, and they're coming out like crazy up there, or at least these Brood X, Brood 10 guys. But you're right, you know, I'm born and raised in the South, and I'm used to hearing our annual cicadas about every summer, and they seem a little bit slow to emerge this year. And I mean, it is still early now. We're not truly into summer just yet. We're just into, you know, getting into mid-June, but I imagine sooner than later the trees are going to be screaming around here.
Why are they so loud?
Well, it's the males that are really so loud. So they actually, believe it or not, they've got a couple structures on their abdomen. So it's that last body segment called tymbals. And so they vibrate these things super duper fast, you know, hundreds of times per second. And what that does is it basically makes a sound that at times can be in excess of 100 decibels, especially if you get a chorus going together. And each species has its own song. So the ones we hear, annually, they kind of have like a just sort of long, consistent buzz. But this Brood X, Brood 10 guys, they actually kind of rise and fall. And some people call them pharaoh cicadas because it almost sounds like pharaoh. And it's really interesting. It's almost like a little sing-song.
I'm gonna listen out for that. So basically, cicadas singing is effectively male cicadas showing off their abs.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, they're strutting. They're showing off the 17-year underground beach bod, the tree bod. But yeah, it's really wild, because people think, if it's making a noise, it's got to be coming from the mouth, right? Because that's what we think as human beings. All our noise generally coming from the mouth. But really, it's an extreme twerk, maybe. That might be. I don't know if that's too much to say, but yeah, it's an abdominal shaking.
The abdominal shake.
Yeah.
Last thing, you went to Clemson for your undergrad.
That's correct.
Georgia for grad school. Big game coming up to start the season. Who you got?
I got my Tigers. I do.
It always goes back to undergrad,
It always does. And I grew up in South Carolina. I grew up with my Tigers. My dad went to Clemson. And there's something about Death Valley. But, I'm happy to see Trevor moving to the next level. But I want to see what DJ can do.
Yeah, DJ's the next guy.
Yeah.
A lot of cicadas could live in Trevor Lawrence's hair safely.
It's true. He could sustain an entire ecosystem in there.